And thank you for joining us today for this masterclass. This time we are joined by Jun Ioneda here, Brazilian illustrator and visual artist, and lecturer on the online master in Editorial and Advertising Illustration. Hi, Jun. His session, titled Illustration Self-Expression with Commercial Success, invites us to reflect on a question many illustrators have and face. And should you follow market demands or prioritize your own voice as an artist? What to do? At the end of the session, we will open the floor to your questions. Please feel free to switch on your camera at the end and microphones, or if you are shy, just leave your questions in the chat and I will read them for you. But before diving into this session, let's take a quick note about what makes LABASAD such a unique learning environment. At LABASAD, we are very proud to be the only exclusively online design school that has a 100% live format. This approach ensures an immersive and interactive experience that feels as dynamic as a physical classroom. And also, a quick key fact about us, more than 94% of our students recommend LABASAD for now. Over than 4,000 students have studied with us, and our faculty includes more than 250 active professionals from around the globe who are active in the industry. And also, we are a global school with students around the world. And also, we've been featured in respected design medias like Creative Boom, for example, here in It's Nice That, and many more. We also believe in helping students go beyond the classroom. For example, here we have Vanessa Garcia, a student of the Online Master in Strategic Packaging Design, who was awarded gold and silver in the Pent Awards 2024 in London. So why choose LABASAD? Because you learn from active professionals from the world, like June, for example, who bring their real-life experience directly to the classroom. We guide our students throughout their interlearning experience, ensuring they always feel connected and feel supported. And also, we give our students the access to different opportunities, and to learn more, like workshops, master classes like this one. We do them monthly, group mentoring sessions, awards opportunities like Vanessa, LABASAD Live, networking activities, festivals like LABASAD Fest. We had it last month. And in all this sounds like a right fit for you. Just to let you know that the applications are now open for our masters for the October-November 2025. So if you are curious or have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out at info@labasad.com. And also, you can contact us by phone or social media, where we usually post our students and faculty work, stay up the date with LABASAD news, and explore many opportunities. And now I will stop and give the word to June. June, please, it's all over to you now. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello. Thank you. I see someone raise the hand. Is it like?
Yeah, I see
should I give the voice to them to see? Because I think it's gonna refer to maybe LABASAD or not.
Yeah, just give them, if you have it on hand. They can talk, whoever raised their hand. Just give me a sec. Hi. Well, I think it.
Okay, let's go. Okay, hello guys. I'm gonna share my presentation. So thank you so much for introducing me. I'm super excited to be talking about it today because it's a subject that I see a lot of students of mine ask, and it's something that I also was always thinking. I'm always thinking about the subject. It kind of like changes from time to time, my perspective on it. And I think it really depends also like from each person to each person. So I really like to open the space to talk about it so everyone can, get their own perspective, and I can tell about my own experience with how I think about that. So just also a little bit of background about me. So I'm from Brazil. I now live in Barcelona, and I'm a graphic artist. So this is my website, and I do illustrations for a living. And I have currently two sides of my work. So on one side, I have the work that you've been seeing in this presentation and that you saw in the previous presentation, which is kind of like my personal work. So it's the way I express myself. It's like my my personal style of illustration that I created. So this is one thing. Another side is I have a studio in Brazil where we create all types of illustrations. So I work with other professionals to create other types of illustration that are not the ones on the right. And I also a lot of times get to illustrate things on other styles in other ways. And because it's my studio, I also, get to do the whole business person side of things and, organizing and etc. So it's a very different experience than working on my personal projects. And I'm bringing this up because it's very important for you to understand where I'm coming from when I talk about, commercial work and self-expression and, how things happen to me. So yeah, basically today here, I'm going to talk about this thing that is very uncomfortable, actually. So it's a never-ending struggle that happens in the minds of artists and in our lives of this conflict that is to want to be expressing yourself visually and expressing your art and also having to pay your bills and wanting to get more money from your art, being paid for it. So how does that relation happens and what I have to say about it. I think that throughout my career, I had different moments where those things were like balanced and less balanced or more balanced. So I'm going to talk about all of that today. And before I get into it, I think it's important to talk about the definition of those words. So what even is success? What is exactly commercial? And what is exactly something that is representing your expression? So those things are very relative, and it's very hard to get a definition of that for everyone. And I think that also changes with time. So to start my story, I'm gonna tell you how I got to this point now where I'm actually feeling comfortable about talking about this subject. So I need to tell the story so you can understand the shades that come between you going like commercial or expressive or maybe both. So as I said, and I think like this story can be very relatable to a lot of people, a lot of artists. So I've had my studio since 2014. So this predates my personal work. So I have a lot of history with it. And I was, very happy with like big clients in Brazil and, not having to do a lot of active like actively looking for clients. Like people already knew the work, and it was nice because they could like do all those types of illustrations. So in a way, you could say I was having commercial success because that part was like kind of like running by itself. But there was this one day that I remember very well that I had some free time to draw, which is hard sometimes, you know, us as artists, as designers, we get into this profession to draw and to do images because we like doing that. And a lot of times we don't have time to do that for ourselves. So nowadays my routine is a little bit more chill. But at the time I was like working a lot, and I was doing the things for my clients. And there was this one day that I sat down to draw, and I just like didn't know what to do. Like I had no idea. Like I remember I wanted to draw something special, and then I couldn't think about something that was special to draw. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna draw something simple. I'm gonna draw a woman. And then I was like, yeah, but like, how do I like to draw a woman? Like, what style am I going to do? So like all those images that were in that previous slide, I created all those images in all those styles, and I was being very good at like getting a briefing and doing something with it to make my client happy. But I just didn't know what to do when I didn't have that, you know, when the client was just my leisure. And I was like just so super sad, you know, because that thing that made me want to work with creating images just wasn't there, and I felt a little bit lost. So I kind of felt like I got into like sucked into the vortex of commercial work and doing things for my client that I kind of like forgot about pleasuring my own brain with doing things for myself. And I think that for artists, it's kind of like painful to not recognize yourself in your art. So that happens not only, you know, in the situations that I was talking about, but also when you're like, you have your own style, when you're doing it for so long and like suddenly for some reason you just stop recognizing yourself in it and you feel this need to change. So yeah, I felt like I needed to change, but like to what? So I was just very confused. I was like super lost. I wanted to do something that was like about self-expression, but I didn't know what to express and how. Um, and at the moment, my conclusion was like, okay, I've been working for the market for so long, and I know what the market wants and needs and likes, but I don't know what I like. And turns out that my answer was actually wrong. So what happened actually was at the moment I didn't see that my I thought that my interests they didn't have a place in the market. So here I have a collection of images because at that moment I decided to create a board in Pinterest. I decided to do like a lot of things to find out what I wanted to do and what, you know, my self-expression was. And I just started to like gather all the images that I thought were like interesting, funny, or inspired me, or like caught my attention. And purposely didn't put just art in it. I also put like some funny images or quirky things just to understand what was my take on the world and what fascinated me about it. And what happens is I just saw that I was like neglecting my interests to try to find a combination that would make the market like what I am. You know, I was going like the other way around. And at one point I realized that I could just create something that was based on what I already like, that is like sci-fi, fashion, I don't know, anime, video games, technology, funny stuff like cats and dogs, you know. And I started creating from that. And, you know, that's also like not enough because when you talk about self-expression, you're also talking about a layer of yourself that you're trying to explore. And that brings a lot of questions also that are quite personal. So like I started to ask like, what do I like? Am I ugly? Am I pretty? What do I like? What I think is pretty? Like, am I a good artist? Like maybe I smile too much. Like you start to like think a lot of things about yourself, and that is great. That is good, because I think when you want to express yourself, you don't have to express everything that you are. We make a selection of it in our art, but it's good to know to be honest with yourself, so you can make that filter and not like filter before you actually figure out things, you know. So it's a very painful process to understand what you want your self-expression to be, but I think it's like also very worth it, because by the end of the day there's this exchange of your actual self and your artist self, and what comes out is often like a combination of that. You should be looking for your interests outside of your artistic point of view, to understand what's unique about you that you can put into the mix of, you know, the aesthetics that you like, the aesthetics that the market like. I think it's gonna give you these tools to develop your artist self, and vice versa. I think it's like a conversation that happens in your brain, and this also happens with your self-expression and commercial work. So I think when we talk about that in such separate ways, we kind of forget that it's all one thing. So your commercial work, like the way you view your work for your clients, already has something of your self-expression, and the other way around. So I think it's important to understand that conversation inside your head. And this intersection of actual self, artist self, commercial, and expression is kind of like the trick to find your approach of what you want to do art-wise. But well, how do you know if the market likes what I want to do, right? It's very hard to understand that, and you won't have the answer unless you just put it out there. So I think people also a lot of times want a very clear answer of like, how do I find a style that is marketable but is also me? And that is very hard, but also because it's risky, and I can understand, but you never get an answer. You have to keep trying and do trial and error. And I think that's like a process that when you're doing it, it's a little bit scary, because when you look into social media and Instagram, no one's talking about their struggles. They're always like with these pretty pictures, and everyone seems to have it figured out, and you're like the one in your living room trying to draw a woman and not knowing how to draw a woman, even though you know how to draw. So you might feel like super alone, but everyone's going through some kind of um, some kind of trouble like that in their heads as artists, because I think that's kind of like one of the perks of being an artist. You have to like learn how to live with those doubts and being so vulnerable with your art. So you'll be second guessing, like, is this me? Is this just the market? But at one point, after a lot of trial and error, after being honest with yourself and, you know, actually exploring what's unique about your repertoire, you might find an image that has this magical combination that you kind of like see yourself in it. So this was one of the first images that I did of my personal work that I was like very satisfied with, that I thought like, oh wow, this is me, I think. This has the elements that I think are like that signify my point of view, but also is the part of me that I want the world to see. So like I don't want to show everything that I am to the world at the same moment, but we choose a part of our expression to show to the world. And when we talk about commercial work, I think that's also very important, because we need to be smart when we are dealing with clients. You know, for some clients, they want you to be funny. For some clients, it's better to be, I don't know, a little bit more serious. And we need to understand that, because if we're selling art that way for like marketing, for brands and etc., as much as I would love for the world to be, I'm just making art and whatever, what you think about it, it's not like that. You are selling a service and you have to think about how that's going to serve the purpose of your client. So we have to be smart about what part of ourselves we are selecting to put into that project. So yeah, at one point you're going to find an image that you like. And here I put kind of a timeline of how things happen to me. So because like I don't know, I like drawing tigers for some reason, and these first two tigers I did when I was trying to figure out what was my style and what I wanted to do. And I was honest with myself that I needed the approval of the world to keep going. So I posted those illustrations, even though at the moment I thought, this is not it, I hate it, but I'm gonna post it just so people like it, and I just keep going because I have to like have that confirmation. So I think like you have to understand also how your brain works, and you know, get those rewards. And also you shouldn't be afraid of putting things out there. So when we are developing our self-expression to like to earn money at one point with it, we're never gonna be ready. It's very hard for you to be waiting for the right moment to show something in your style that it's gonna finally be like your best work and etc. If you're waiting for that moment, you're losing time to like grow an audience, to get people's attention. So when I got to the moment that I showed that last tiger, I was already like trying to build my Instagram and build an audience for people to be looking at my work. I already had the studio, so I was doing some work. So when I had my style kind of like defined, I already had like people looking at my work, so it was good that I didn't have to like start from zero and etc. So even though that part is like super awkward and you're posting things that you think are not like super like 100% there, it's also the part that you learn more about yourself and about your expression and how you feel about art. I learned like what I like and things I don't like, and a lot about how my brain works, and about how I like to work and how I don't like to work, about the images that I'm obsessed with, the themes that I like to put out there. So it's a very precious moment that I think you need to go through to get to the other end. And also the first thing that I learned is you're not gonna be doing a Mona Lisa at 8 p.m. after work. So it's like very hard because you don't have a lot of time to do your personal stuff when you work a lot. And when you go and you have just this very small time to do it, you think you're gonna do like this amazing thing, and you just do like a normal drawing, and it's like super sad. But you need to understand how you're making progress and find ways to make, you know, small bits of progress until you're satisfied with how you express yourself through your art. And if you want to stand out in the market, I also think that you have to be smart and understand that the market likes, things that are different, and you might try to get attention. And if you want to create something that you feel is unique, or more like something that is very you and also different from the others, one thing that I would advise is to create something that is like work in the area that is ugly also. So like try not to create only beautiful things. Test things that you find ugly combinations of colors, ugly effects, ugly characters. Like I'm not saying you should go for the ugly all the time, but our notion of pretty and the notion of the market of what is pretty is something that is built with time. And if it came to the conclusion, if the market came to the conclusion that it's pretty, it already went through many phases of people thinking, is this pretty or not, is this pretty or not. So it's kind of like a consensus. So if you go for the consensus of what's pretty for the market and for everyone, you're gonna end up with something that is kind of like same, maybe. So I think this is a good exercise for you to understand what is your own notion of pretty, of what is beautiful, and that might help you create something that operates from a different type of logic than what the market at the moment is operating. That's how a lot of trends appear. So one example of it's a small example of what I did when I was in my process. I have always, since I was a child, thought that characters with lips were scary and ugly. I don't know why, but I think it's because we had a lot of American cartoons in Brazil on TV, and they didn't have lips. So an anime also often don't have lips. So whenever I saw a character with lips, I would be like, ugh, that's so ugly. And one day I decided to put lips on my work, and I kind of loved it because I thought it was a little bit weird for me. I don't know. You have the relation of like something you love but you despise also, and that's a very interesting kind of relation to have when you're talking about art. So explore the things that are ugly, because you might break your notion of wanting to fit into a style that is expected from the market, and you might find something that is interesting about your work and about yourself. So what people say is this can result in more unique things, but I think that it's better to say that it's going to result into more genuine things, because it's going to be a combination of your unfiltered self for you and your unfiltered self for the market. I think it's going to have more valuable also. I think the market, I'm not saying that it always does, but a lot of times it does recognize when something is genuine and special. But when you're talking about success, it does take time. And there's a lot of effort when you're talking about marketing yourself and your work. And when we're talking about success, what does success mean to you right now? So this is one of the main things that you have to ask yourself about yourself when you're trying to create your style or change your professional life. Is what you want the most with that change? Do you want more money? Do you want to express yourself more? Do you want more recognition? Do you want more awards? So for each answer, you're gonna have a type of solution that represents what you have to do. And, to create something unique and genuine is unfortunately not enough. It does not equal success. You have to be smart, you have to talk to people, you have to promote your work, you have to give your clients a good experience so they promote your work for you. You have to be smart on how you show off your work. You have to take care of how it's presented. You have to write emails in a nice way. So it's a lot of things that come with the package of being an independent artist. You sometimes are more a designer, sometimes you're more of a business person, sometimes you're more your own secretary, you're more illustrator. So there's a lot of hats that you have to put on to, if you want to reach a level of success in your career, and that's unfortunate, like in a way that we don't choose to make art to do all of that. But you know, it's the reality. Those things are part of the job. And if you want people to buy or get interested in your art, you have to be aware of your brand. You need to understand where you want to be and where your art wants to be. So how you need to direct your path. So do you want to be in a gallery? Do you want to be doing something for Spotify? Do you want to be doing something for local brands? So each of those things have different things, different paths that you have to take with your work and with how you approach the things around the work. So it's not a simple solution. I'm so sorry that like I don't have like this very magical solution to give to all of you, but I think it's important to be real about it because we see people, you know, on Instagram with their artwork, and we think they had like this magical solution, but I don't think anyone had. And one day you'll be successful and suddenly you're gonna feel like you want something else. So it's also a path that never ends. That's why I said the never ending struggle, because it really never ends. You kind of learn how to live with it because we live through different moments in our lives. And myself now, my work that was supposed to be like my self-expression, it still is, but that I created as something that wasn't supposed to pander too much to the market. Like I didn't expect, honestly, my personal work to be marketable when I was starting it, because, you know, I was drawing like Pikachu with like with a suit. I was drawing like very stupid things, honestly. Like things with faces, and I was just doing it because I had this itch that I had to scratch, and I was very surprised when the market started to welcome that type of image. So it was a little bit unexpected to me, but also like it was something that I wanted, but I didn't. It wasn't the main goal for me. So now this work that was my self-expression also became my commercial work. So now I do as much commercial work with this as I do with the studio. And you know, a lot of doubts start to raise in my head, like am I going too much to the market? Should I do something else? Am I expressing myself enough or not enough? So what is happening? Where do I want to go? And all of that. Am I selling too much? You know. So all of those questions like come back for me to understand what's my approach from now on. And that's not a bad thing. I think that's how we evolve our art and how we evolve our careers and our work. So I think it's a very nice and interesting thing when those questions appear, because it means that, you know, you're starting to go on another road, another path, and I think that's like super exciting. So there's that, and the fact that your art will always be one step behind yourself. So by the time you finish your artwork, your mind is already like, far ahead and thinking about something else. So what we are doing is always a little bit behind. So it's kind of painful in that sense to be an artist, and a little bit more painful also when you do commercial work, because you have the struggle of like, am I expressing myself enough? Am I putting too much of the client and too less of me? So honestly, like the answer is like, there's never a clear percentage that you have to do. And it's really from project per project. Like there are projects that I do that are more the client than it is me. And it's okay because it's part of the job, I don't post every project that I do on my social media, because I try to create, the world and, how I want people to see my work. So if I post every project, maybe it's going to look too commercial. I don't know. So you also choose how you present it to the people, just so you kind of filter what they're going to expect from your work. And there are times that you're going to be doing too much commercial work and you're going to feel the need to go somewhere else, to create something else. And that's what happened to me. I was doing a lot of things from my style for clients. And I felt this need of like creating something on the opposite end. So I'm now in a moment that I'm exploring how I can make my work less marketable, actually. So I'm not leaving behind what I already do, but I feel the need to experiment and express myself without the thoughts of how the market's gonna see it, and it's kind of like a conversation also, because then I see, my work as cool as it is, like, I see my work like with the McDonald's logo and it's like super cool, but in a way I feel like, like, oh no, like I'm being like too commercial. No, this wasn't supposed to happen. Like is it like is it dirty that my work was like supposed to be my self-expression with the McDonald's logo? Like, I don't know. So there's this conflict that happens. And what I suggest is that you have to keep working on things for yourself. So you have to keep yourself interested in your own expression and in your own work. So don't stop experimenting with your art when you do projects for commercial ends, because that's gonna keep you moving. And that's when you're ready, you might have a different approach with your self-expression, but that's not gonna appear out of nowhere. It's like a thing that you build with time. So before doing this, before doing those pictures, I was thinking about it for a long time. I bought that suit, and I asked the guy to do that mask like a year ago, and I didn't know what I wanted with it, but I kind of like wanted to try. I didn't have a specific end for it. So also, like all of those images that I put here, I didn't do them for clients. So you should try to always do things for yourself besides your commercial work, because those two sides, as I said, they have conversations. If it's just one side, there's no conversation happening. So you have to keep like feeding both ends, so everything grows. So now I understand that things are not that separated. So what I did with my studio already had some of my expression. After a while, I understood that there's something in me in what I do for the studio. And there's something about my knowledge of the market that made my work kind of like be seen by the market. So those two sides, they're always in a conversation, and you have to be smart and use both to kind of like get success in both of those sides. So it's all in you, and it's all very mixed. And what I say it's the most important thing, honestly, it's a little bit cheesy, but I think you need to let your art evolve with you, and you really need to try to have fun with it. Because if you're not having fun with your self-expression or interested in your own work, it's not gonna work long term, and you're gonna probably like feel down, and it's gonna reflect into how successful you end up being. Because as I said, there's a lot of effort that goes around your work. There's like you have to market yourself, you have to like post things, you have to, do all those things. And if you're not interested in what you're doing or excited about it, it's just so much harder to promote your work and to communicate it to the world. So you should really explore the tools you have to create something that is special to you and that you want to put it out there. And by the end, everything is going to be like a consequence of like how excited and how much effort you're wanting to put into it. So what I always say is try to find the best ways to have fun with your art and use your knowledge, of the market and all of it to create the best combination for the path you want to take.